Okay, time to plug in my eGPU. No removable GPU. Huh. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. Oh, and now it's disappeared. Okay. Oh, okay. So it looks like now that I unplugged it, it's recognizing it correctly. So I'll just plug it back in. No removable GPU. What? How does this work? Okay, I'll drop the skit. So you already know this problem. You know this full well. You've probably spent a million years trying to solve this problem. I've spent a million years also trying to solve this problem. I looked through 20 forum posts. I've spent over 40 hours. I wiped my entire hard drive. I downgraded 3 OS versions and upgraded to everyone individually. I did everything. I did everything you could do to find the solution to this problem. And luckily, I found it by accident. Eventually, I just found it by accident. So it turns out, if you've been having the no removable GPU problem, it's actually due to a squeeze deficiency, which is pretty hilarious. So if you're not a part of the eGPU community, pretty much the way you fix a squeeze deficiency is... Oh, there we go. I mean, you can choose to believe me or not if you want to, but I have spent 40 hours on this. I tried Kryptonite. I tried Purge Wrangler. I emptied my NVRAM. I did literally everything, and nothing worked. This is the only thing that I could get to work consistently. So it turns out you just have to squeeze your graphics card and then squeeze your graphics card after every single time you want to plug in your eGPU. No! I even went to Apple's official support website, searched up drivers, and scrolled through downloading anything I could that had anything to do with graphics. Extreme airport drivers. Yo, that's who George Bush hired. Okay, so there is a more permanent solution to this. I'm sure you know this isn't actually how you solve it. So the permanent fix for this is something called a clip fix. And a clip fix is pretty much where you... I am literally serious right now. Huh? I am a literal super genius.
I hear the crystal raindrops fall to the window, to the wall, till my sweat drop down my balls.
So this is just my eGPU now, and there you can see the shadow of Colossus, the kind of little shadow of green chip clip sticking out of the eGPU. Important update. So it turns out the clip fix is not the actual solution to the problem. Now, it worked. Don't get me wrong, it worked. It definitely worked. It just eventually stopped working. So this is the actual solution to the problem. I was playing around with the motherboard for a while, and it turns out just pushing it, putting pressure on the motherboard and pushing it inward seems to actually have fixed the problem and be the permanent solution for the problem. I don't actually know how the chip clips fixed it. I guess while I was putting them on, while I was trying to get them around this massive external graphics processing unit, I put so much pressure on it in just the perfect way to like move the motherboard inward a little bit, even though that wasn't what I was trying to do. So it's really cool that that worked, but that is not actually the solution to the problem. I'm also happy that the problem is with my eGPU chassis instead of my graphics card. I thought it was weird that it was with my graphics card, and I'm glad I don't have a broken graphics card. And instead I only have like a semi-broken eGPU chassis. I have a bad graphics chassis. So yeah, it seems you want to push this thing in, and especially here, especially on this part, pushing in right here really seems to solve the problem. And now there's this nice little thing that I call the sound trick. There's a nice little trick you can do with sound. So listen right here and hear what sound it's making. Okay, so you hear that sound, and now I'm going to push it in with my thumb. Wait a minute. There you go, and as you can clearly see, that sound stopped, and now it's just the sound of a fan. So I'm pretty darn sure that this sound is in some way an indicator of the problem. You can see it comes back on there. So I think maybe your graphics card motherboard, maybe your eGPU motherboard is misaligned in a different way, but either way, I would definitely recommend playing around with your motherboard and pushing it in different directions, which is what I did for a while, until that sound goes away or starts going away. And that is probably the direction that you have to push it in. I know it's pretty stupid and absurd, but that seems to be, this is at least the only thing I know to fix the problem right now. I mean, I guess I was wrong about the chip clips, but it does work every time now. It worked for a while with the chip clips, but not that long. It seems to be much more stable now, and this also makes sense as, I think this makes a lot more sense as a way to solve the problem. I don't know how this might have happened, how the motherboard might have gotten misaligned. I never dropped this or banged it into anything, really. I've always been pretty gentle and careful with this, so it leads me to question how this happened. I don't see how I could have broken this. And what's even more frustrating is apparently this is actually only a problem with Apple, because this is only an issue with getting the graphics card to connect, like getting it to make the connection with Apple. Because I've heard from the forums that like Windows computers and other stuff is entirely fine, and they don't have this same issue. Even when this issue is happening with an Apple computer, you can just plug it into the Windows, which makes people believe, it kind of leads them to believe it's a problem with their computer and not with the eGPU housing, which apparently it is a problem with the eGPU housing. So that's too bad and annoying, and I wish Apple would find a way to fix this, because apparently it's able to connect to Windows computers just fine. But for right now, that seems to be the answer.